No,
Yeah.
sorry. Can't do it.
I hear you. All right. Well, look, the big news today, and unfortunately, we kind of saw this coming. No surprise after watching the game, but CJ Gardner-Johnson has a lacerated kidney and possibly a fractured rib.
Yep.
Now, the initial report, Tom Pelissari of the NFL Network had this originally, but the initial reports, at least right now, and we're going to have Jimmy Kempski on at 1 o'clock. We'll talk to him about everything that's going on with the Eagles and that specifically, but is that he's not going on the IR. But we'll see. We'll see. It's concerning. It's non-surgical, at least according to the reports.
Well, that's a 6-month diagnosis. 6-week diagnosis if he had to have surgery,
right,
on a lacerated kidney,
right.
And that's just from what I read. I don't have a medical degree. I'm saying just what I've read on the interweb.
Yes, the interweb. Yes, but no. So hopefully it's not a real long period of time. But the problem you have right now is you're without CJ, you're without Maddox. I'm just talking about the secondary. We can get into Goddard and all that stuff and Jordan Davis, but you're already short in the secondary anyway. So, and while he made the interception and he didn't look overwhelmed or anything, you Reed Blankenship will likely be plugged in here. You talk about a guy with a lot of, he's very inexperienced. He's a rookie. He's an undrafted rookie. So this is a little tough spot right now.
And hadn't had any reps either.
Right. Hadn't had any reps.
His first game time reps was this last game he just got put in.
Yep. Yeah. And I see Jeremy points out that Ertz had the same injury and was only out 2 weeks in 19. Jeremy, you're right, but everybody's injuries and everybody heals differently.
Yes.
So the only thing I would say is I don't know. God, it'd be great if he came back that quickly, but I don't know. And if there's rib damage, that might hold this up even more.
When you're talking about a lacerated kidney and a cracked rib too, because anytime you talk about a cracked rib, you wonder how close it is to the lung, and did it puncture a lung? And even if it's not like a complete puncture, did it touch the lung?
Yeah.
You have to be very careful with that stuff, man. And Zach Ertz came back in a short amount of time, but I've seen dudes out 6-7 weeks with this thing.
Right.
It's different. And when you're a bigger person, you absorb more, which means you can lessen the damage. I mean, CJ's a skinny dude. He's a thin dude, muscular dude. But I'm saying, so that collision he had, which I can't emphasize enough, it didn't look that bad. Initially, I thought he had, maybe a concussion, the way he hit him with his shoulder, and he bounced off of him. Then I thought the way he was twitching and flopping around, I'm thinking maybe he separated the shoulder. Mm-hmm. But then as I mentioned to you guys yesterday, I got word that we're looking at cracked ribs here. I didn't know about the lacerated kidney, but man.
Yeah. Our buddy Marcus chimes in. The problem with the backup starting, it puts more pressure on the special teams. And that's the last thing you want to be doing is put more pressure on that special teams. anything but special teams.
Oh,
so a great point. But I know. And that's the thing. Look, we all know they've been pretty lucky this year. It's starting to add up a little bit.
Yeah.
The silver lining, the good news is they don't look like they're year enders.
No.
So the way it works with the guys who are hurt right now, Jordan Davis can come off this week. I don't know if he will, but he can come off this week. Maddox next week, Goddard the following week. So there's a little light at the end of the tunnel with getting some of these guys back.
And the good thing is they don't face like a passer until you get to Dak on Christmas Eve. Like somebody's that's going to throw at will. Think about it. You got
and that's
Ryan
26
Tannehill.
days.
Yeah, Ryan Tannehill, Daniel Jones twice. Justin Fields,
Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton's win.
That's the second to last game of the year.
Second to last game. So if you're going to get healthy, you got a good window to get healthy against teams that are going to be a thorn like Tennessee and the Giants, but you don't have to worry about their quarterbacks kill. Although, again, Ryan Tannehill, you don't know which Ryan Tannehill is going to show up. You really don't. But I'm more worried about Justin Fields running the ball than I am passing the ball. Daniel Jones the same way. Daniel Jones is efficient, but he doesn't have a collection of lethal receivers. He's not going to kill you with his arm. Daniel Jones might go 20 of 28 for like 215 yards.
Right.
That's manageable. Okay. That's doable. But so that's the good news.
Here's the question I have for you guys. Because we've seen this precedent over the years. We saw it last year with the Rams when they pulled Eric Weddle out of retirement and he actually ended up starting toward the end of the year, played played in the Super Bowl for him. Got hurt, stayed in there. I think he separated his shoulder and stayed in there. Anyway, Malcolm Jenkins was on John Clark's podcast not all that long ago prior to this injury and said, hey, I'm still in game shape. I can still play. I'm still working out. Is that something you guys would tap into?
Bringing Gents back.
I thought
he would be perfect in this defense in the aspect that they wouldn't ask him to cover. They would just ask him to be that guy to fill in run type situations. Now, would he be asking for more money than the base salary? He might just want to get a ring.
Incentives, but let me put this. What I'm told is no.
Okay.
I'm told no. I'm told no. They're not going to pursue Malcolm Jenkins.
And that, Gunnar, from what you're told, is that on the Eagles' end or Malcolm not being interested in? I don't want to reveal anything. If that's
I cannot confirm nor deny.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. And I think that you're in a spot right now where the trade deadline's passed. It would be someone who's essentially on the street. The thing with Malcolm too is Malcolm could play special teams. He was a very good special teamer.
Yes, he was.
So if you're looking to bolster a terrible second special teams unit,
right?
Malcolm could help you in both areas.
He's ring chasing right now. He wants another ring. He wants a third.
I'm okay with it. I'm usually not one who wants to dip into the past all the time. Like T.O. was retired for like 14 years, and people are like, get T.O., man. He can still play. I'm like, okay.
Well, I'm gonna say this. If you bring Malcolm in, understand that there's a reason why he retired. If he could still play at that high level, he'd still be playing.
Good point.
We're talking about a guy that's not going to be able to run around like he used to run around.
Right.
He won't be able to play in the slot at corner like he used to play at slot corner. You talking about a guy that's going to play safety in the most simplest form you get. You ask him to go out there and play zone and cover a zone, he can probably do that. If you're asking him to go out there and run step for step, stride for stride with somebody like Kelsey or somebody, it's not happening.
Right.
I just sent you both the reason why I said no. Okay. If you look at your phones but don't say anything, then you'll understand where the no comes from. So it's emphatic.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay, gotcha.
So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I understand. Look, I'm just throwing it out. I'm just trying to think. Like the problem is, Barrett, and this is along the lines of what you just said. And this is all due respect. Malcolm was an unbelievable player, leader, and all that good stuff.
Absolutely.
Most of the guys who were on the street at that position are probably, if not cooked, close to cooked. Like there's just not probably a lot left. Weddle was an exception. You plugged him in or whatever.
What about Harris? Took you too long.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of other guys
Now, to go back to what you just said about cooked.
Cooked is probably strong.
Because they brought Sue and Linville Joseph in off the street.
No. I guess that's where I was going to follow up, and I'll ask both of you guys. Is it easier to come off the street having sat for 8 weeks, whatever, and play D-tackle than it is a position where there's some coverage involved? Is that easier? I'm asking. I'm not. This is not a presumptuous question. I don't know.
I think it's easier for a D lineman to come back because, like I said a few weeks ago, you're not asking him to sprint 40, 50 yards down the field.
That's what I mean.
You know what I mean? When you start talking about wide receivers, linebackers, secondary personnel, these dudes got to come off the street, man. And, I'm in shape. Well, you're not in game shape. You don't care what kind of workouts you're doing. Right. Prime example, Deshaun Jackson. 35 years old, still one of the fastest human beings in the National Football League. His first game, he grabs his hamstring like a rabbit being shot with buckshot. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's a big difference. So if you bring a guy back and he's hurt in the first game and he's out for a couple of weeks, why'd you bring him? What purpose does he serve?
That's the issue, right?
Yeah.
And it was sort of like trying to tap into Deshaun Jackson, a million different times. All of a sudden he's banged up again, right? And it's like, what's the point? I think Malcolm is going to be a name that's thrown around a lot by Eagles fans, and rightfully so. I don't think it's crazy. But
not Eagles fans, but not Eagles.
I'm saying Eagles fans
that are in positions to make decisions to bring him in.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting.
Bro, I still want Foles back.
Yeah, I hear you. I just keep thinking to myself, can Foles do worse than what they're getting out of like Matt Ryan? And we'll talk about that game last night in a little bit, but
Right.
yeah, I don't know. Well, let's look at it from this standpoint, guys. So we're in the NFC East right now, and you got the Eagles at 10-1. Dallas is 8-3, and Dallas has the softer portion of the schedule coming up. In other words, a lot of the bad AFC South teams that the Eagles already played, Dallas has coming up. Yep. You have the Giants, who they've lost 2 out of 3, who look like they're maybe coming back there. I think it's 3 out of 4 actually, are coming back to earth a little bit. And Washington's hot, like legit hot. They're 7-5 right now. So looking at the division, is it conceivable that every team gets in? Because you have a South division that just flat out stinks, that one team has to get in. It's going to be the Bucs. But Atlanta's only a game back at 5-7. Carolina's only 2 games back at 4-8. Same with New Orleans. But nonetheless, I don't want to get off on a rant on how bad that division is. You might only get 1 out of the West. The second place team in the West is 6-5. You might get 1 team out of the North, because the next, you realize Detroit at 4-7 is in second place in the North?
Yes.
What? So,
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, as we third in the NFL, man, that's the parity, man.
Yeah.
Well, as we sit here today, all 4 teams in the NFC East are in the playoffs as of right now, as we sit here today. But then looking,
man.
Oh yeah. But looking at their schedule, I don't think all 4 are not going to make it.
So who's the odd man out, Giants or Washington?
Giants have lost 2 in a row. They still have Washington, Eagles, Washington, Minnesota, Indy, and Eagles. I think the Giants have the toughest schedule, first of all. Now, the way the schedule plays itself out, with 6 games left, they have 3 at home and 3 on the road.
So Gunner, here's the problem. Okay, so if you say one of them doesn't get in, who's passing them? Seattle? Like, who's coming up?
I think Seattle. I think it's Seattle. I think Seattle's going to get in there. And I think I can't count Atlanta out yet.
All right, let me give you Seattle's
team Atlanta is going to show up week to week.
All right, tell me what you think here. They're at the Rams. The Rams are cooked, and I don't think it's Stafford. I think it's going to be Bryce Perkins again.
Right, Perkins.
They're home against Carolina.
That's a winnable game.
It's 2 winnable games, right?
Yeah.
And then you have San Fran at home. That's a tough one on a Thursday night. That's December 15th. Then you're at Kansas City. Yeah. Jets home, kind of a toss-up game.
It's going to be a dogfight. Yeah.
Yep. And then you close it out against the Rams again, but this time it's home. I mean, that's
to me, that's more favorable for Seattle than looking at Washington or the Giants schedule. I mean, the Giants, you have the Giants. Washington plays the Giants back-to-back weeks with a bye in between those games. So they have a home and home.
Then they play us back-to-back weeks too, though.
No. Who? Washington?
Why? Well, they play us. They got to play us twice. We're not back-to-back. They got to play us.
No,
twice.
Washington's done with us. We've already played
Giants.
Oh, the Giants. Yeah. Yep. And then after the Giants, Washington has at San Francisco, Cleveland with Deshaun Watson,
right,
and then versus Dallas. Now, they might get a break with Dallas because Dallas, wherever they are, may have already secured a position.
Right, that could be a wrap for them. Yeah.
That could be a wrap for them.
Possible.
But yeah, you don't know which way these Giants games are going to go. That's going to be. I would love to see those games. Those games, I would love to be able to just sit and watch both of those matchups, home and home, against each other.
But that would be crazy, man, if every team in the NFC.
Yes. You're right, but it's right now. It's very doable.
They're playing the best football. Say what you want to say. They're playing. The Giants started out playing some great football. They caught lightning in the bottle for was it like 6 games?
Oh yeah,
7 games.
Yeah,
they caught lightning in the bottle. I mean, it's just a hell of a coaching job by their head coach. But you look at Washington, man. Washington, we know that their front. I mean, their defensive line is just probably the best in football right now. Considering the fact you look at, they're getting Chase Young back.
Yeah, they're strangling offenses.
Right. So you look at that, and then you pair that with a team that believes in a quarterback that's he's average,
scrappy,
but they believe in him,
but they're behind him. Yeah,
exactly. And plus they're in a foxhole right now. that foxhole mentality, that dog mass mentality, they're fully entrenched in that right now.
Yeah.
They say the hell with front office, the hell with anybody that's not in our locker room. They're entrenched right now. Their back is against the wall. They're a wounded animal, and they're coming out fighting, man.
That's right.
And that mentality right there will win you a lot of football games. It won us a Super Bowl in 17.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're right.
Here's why you can't discount Atlanta. Okay, Atlanta's coming off a loss. They could have won if the ricocheted pass cost them the game against Washington, but they lost. Okay, so next they have Pittsburgh at home, at New Orleans, which is a mess, Baltimore at Baltimore, and then their last two games are at home against Arizona and Tampa, both winnable games for them.
Yeah, that's not a super tough schedule. That's not.
No. I mean, they only lost to Tampa Bay by 6 points back in week 5. And Tampa, no, they lost Tristan Wirth, who has a high ankle sprain. He's a week to week. He's going to be out at least a couple of weeks with that thing.
Oh, yeah.
You talk about an offensive lineman with a high ankle sprain, they're not coming back in a week.
No.
There's no way.
No. I mean, and the thing is, too, when Tampa wins, like Tampa doesn't blow anybody out.
No.
Like, most of their wins have been very close. So, Atlanta absolutely could take care of business. Atlanta lost to them 21-15 at Tampa in week 5.
Yes.
If they even get competent quarterback play, they could definitely do it.
And you got the rematch at home on the last game of the season. I mean, they could be right there last game of the season.
Yeah, they could.
They
but the point is, only one of them is getting in, though, Gunner. It's either going to be Tampa or Atlanta. Like, it looks like every other division could get just one in. West, North, and South.
Well, wait, you don't think if Atlanta
I'm sorry,
got some help,
I mean, Seattle could conceivably with San Fran.
Right.
Yeah, they could.
In order for Atlanta to get in, they're going to need some help along. They're going to have to win their games and get some help, from teams playing the Giants and Washington at this point. That's a way they could back in the playoffs.
I mean, they need Tampa to lose. They need.
You don't think they could get in as a wild card?
Not at this record they're at right now.
Let me see. So you have Minnesota. No. Okay, so the 4 teams getting in.
They're 5-7.
Okay, Eagles, Minnesota, Tampa Bay, 49ers. So that's the 4 division winners. Now, of the 3 wild cards, right now the odds-on favorite is Dallas. We assume Dallas is going to get in.
Dallas is getting in, yeah.
So that leaves the battle between Seattle, the 3 teams in the NFC East, and Atlanta for the 2 remaining spots.
Yeah. I like the East, man. I like the East teams getting in. I do.
I do too. But you talk about you talk about a murderous schedule for both the Giants and Washington.
Yeah.
Now they're going to knock each other off. I expect them to split their 2 meetings.
Yep.
But they're going to knock each other off, and then Washington still has San Francisco. Giants still have Minnesota and the Eagles twice. Yep. Atlanta. I'm saying Atlanta.
Atlanta's got life. There's definitely
life.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I actually like the way Atlanta's been playing, man. Their 2 receivers. I mean, I know Pitts is a tight end, but he plays like a receiver. They are starting to mix well and vibe with the everything they have going on. Cordell Patterson brought new life to their offense, man.
Yeah.
New life.
Pitts being hurts them though.
Yeah,
that hurts. Yeah. Look, it's going to be interesting. So we'll continue to monitor that. All right, when we come back, we're going to dive into Jalen Hurts and the season he's having compared to last year, and how legitimate it is for him to win potentially an MVP. We'll look at what Mahomes is doing, what Tua is doing, what some of the others that are right there are doing as well. We will dive into all of that when we come back. 1:00, Jimmy Kempski will do a full-blown NFL segment at 2:00. 1:30, we'll do a little Sixers, who won again last night. Embiid came back. They beat Atlanta. Good win for the Sixers. We'll do that. Little World Cup we'll mix in. All kinds of stuff in store for you. So don't go anywhere. Derek, Barrett, Rob, we are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube
Network.
Network.
You were calling me out for a minute.
You're good. You're safe, Derek. Let's talk about Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group, because you know how difficult and frankly scary it can be to find someone who you can trust with your finances. And I found the right person, and it's Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group. Whether it's retirement planning, 401k review, insurance review, you may have a small business, you're trying to get things off the ground and set up your employee benefits. That's also another resource that Jim can help you with. I personally entrusted my IRA my 401k rollovers to Jim, and I couldn't be any happier. You will be too. Give him a call, 610-996-4751, 610-996-4751, or you could email him as well, Murray, Murray.Jim@principal.com. That's Murray.Jim@principal.com.